And hello again, and welcome again. So, this is the third part of the video about Hadith criticism and what is Hadith criticism. The first one was the introduction, the next one was a case study regarding Abu Huraira, and now we will go to see, and for Abu Huraira, I used primarily his own narrations and Khalid Abul Fadl's book, Speaking in God's Name. Today, in this video, today for you, because for me it's the same day, so for this video, I will use The Veil and the Male Elite by Fatima Mernissi. I will not give biographies because, you know, out of time economy, please go and check these authors if you don't know them. Why don't you know them? If you do, you know who they are. So, today we will talk about Abu Bakra, which again, we should not confuse Abu Bakra with Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was the father of Aisha, and the Prophet's peace be upon him, father-in-law. Abu Bakra was a different person. Abu Bakra has narrated some hadith that are misogynistic. Abu Bakr has narrated, I mean, we will see it in the book. For now, I will give you the general background of Abu Bakr. Those of you that you have not watched the previous part number 2 with Abu Huraira, go and watch it, please. And you will see many suspicious similarities with Abu Bakr. What do I mean? If you haven't watched the video, go watch it and then come back. You have a minute. Okay, those of you that you have watched the video and you know the general biography of Abu Huraira, listen now the similarities with Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was a slave. As a slave, he was very poor. Okay, he was a slave, and we don't talk about servant. We talk about slave. His life would have been in servitude of someone until he dies. Now, what happened is that the Prophet wanted to conquer the city that Abu Bakr lived in. Anyway, long story short, I will not give you the background of the story. If you don't know, please study proto-Islamic history or Sirah, please. What happened is that in this, you know, the Prophet sieged the city, and eventually he decided that, you know what, I will not kill the people, I will not do anything, I will go. But before he goes, he sent a messenger in the city, and he said, any slave who wants to come out of the city and become a Muslim, I will grant him his safety and his freedom. And Abu Bakr grabbed this opportunity. Between me and you, I would have grabbed the opportunity. And that's how Abu Bakr became a Muslim. Which again, why do I pay attention to that? And do I find it something horrible? No, he did the right thing. I would have done the same. But it is important to know and to understand the difference between those Sahaba that they were sons and daughters of wealthy and prosperous families in Mecca, and who they sacrificed their prosperity, their wealth, their family connections, you know, for the sake of Allah, for Islam, following the Prophet. And those Sahaba that they saw Islam as a means of filling their belly, like what we saw in the previous video, or gaining their freedom. It's not something that we should hold them accountable. It's not something bad. Wanting to be free while you're a slave is not bad. Wanting to eat when you're starving, it's not bad. But I want you to understand the different background and the different spiritual foundation of each of the Sahaba. And don't fall into this trap of the Salafi ideology and the Deobandi ideology that, oh, all the Sahaba were the same and all the Sahaba are untouchable. No. Anyway, so back to Abu Bakra. So that's how he became a Muslim. Surprisingly, similarly to what we said in the previous video with Abu Huraira, once he joined Islam, Abu Bakr, he became a notable of Basra. Basra is a city in Iraq. Notable means one of the highest, one of the, how do we call them in English? Brain fog. The high class people of Basra. And very rich as well. His children were known for being very rich and knowledgeable. Now, why knowledgeable? Remember, the Sahaba had the Hadith. Knowledgeable back then did not mean someone that spends all his life studying books. Meant someone who had narrations from the Prophet. So their father was a Sahaba. That means that, similarly to the son-in-law of Abu Huraira that we saw earlier, that they had... Where did I put it? I lost my notes. Give me a second. Yes. So similarly to Abu Huraira's son-in-law, the sons of Abu Bakra were Tabiyun through their father. So Abu Huraira's son-in-law became through marriage one of the Tabiyun, but Abu Bakra's were naturally because their father, Abu Bakra, was a companion of the Prophet. So you see how it was. It had socioeconomic importance. Knowing Hadith made you a knowledgeable, made you a scholar. And again, I need to make so many videos to explain that when we have a term today, our understanding today of a term is totally different than the understanding that this term had in the past, in the proto-Islamic era. So, back to Abu Bakr, who made a fortune and a livelihood out of, being a Muslim. Let's go and see what Mernissi says about Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr, Fatima Mernissi questions the famous hadith that Abu Bakr gave us, which says, those who entrust their affairs to a woman will never know prosperity. Now, this is a very, very misogynistic and dangerous hadith that has led and has maintained the oppression of millions after millions of women in Muslim majority countries. And what do I mean by that is that based on this one narration, women in the Muslim world are discouraged by participating in decisions, and this was narrated in the political arena. And we will see how, okay. But this has infiltrated in the family. So Muslim men, for thousands, literally thousands of years, if a woman tries to take a decision or, to even participate in a decision, if the wife tries to do that, they bring this hadith as that, women should not take decisions. I will not entrust my affairs on your hands because those who entrust their affairs to a woman will never know prosperity. I don't want to break the bad news to the Muslim people, but here in England, we had very famous and very successful female leaders, political leaders. But again, my point and our point today is not only the political arena, which is an important point, because when you, as a state, as a Muslim majority state, you block women from participating in the political decisions of the country, you block 50% of the population. And you masculinize Islam. So Islam becomes a man's or men's affair. Women are silenced. It's like, you woman, go home and raise children. That's all what you have to do. Or that's all what you are permitted to do. Okay. So this one line, those who entrust their affairs to a woman will never know prosperity. This is one line, but has caused massive damage to Muslim women. And Muslim majority countries. I mean, look at the situation in Muslim majority countries. Let's not talk about that. So let's see what Mernissi says. Since this hadith is included in the Sahih those thousands of authentic hadith accepted by the meticulous Al-Bukhari, it is a priori considered true and therefore unassailable without proof of the contrary. And it's very beautiful how, I will not read this case, but how Mernissi says that once she was in a bazaar, and she mentioned, you know, women in politics, and the locals, the men in the bazaar were like, oh, how do you say that in Islam women don't participate in politics? Yeah, because of this one line. Now let's see details. Again, these are pages from 49 to, we will go to 59. Oh, 61. Yeah, to 61. As you noticed, I have the habit of heavily annotating my books, which I love it. So I hope you do the same in your books. I believe that books that are not annotated have never been loved. Anyway, I will start. Yeah, I will start. I hope it will make sense because Mernissi writes sporadically. So writes something here and then she goes and has a flashback and then comes back. I hope it will make sense. So, on what occasion did Abu Bakr recall these words of the Prophet? And why did he feel the need to recount them? Abu Bakr must have had a fabulous memory because he recalled them a quarter of century, 25 years, after the death of the Prophet, at the time that the Caliph Ali retook Basra after having defeated Aisha at the Battle of the Camel. I hope you know history. If you don't know history, study history. I will die and my last words will be study history. Before occupying Basra, Aisha went on pilgrimage to Mecca. Now, here we're talking about the battle, the fight, the war, the civil war between Ali and Aisha, and I think Omar was with Aisha. Before occupying Basra, Aisha went on pilgrimage to Mecca where she learned the news of the assassination of Uthman at Medina and the naming of Ali as the fourth Caliph. It was not Omar, it was my mistake, it was not Omar. It was while she was in Mecca that she decided to take command of the army that was challenging the choice of Ali. Days and days of indecision then followed. Should she go to Kufa or Basra? Both cities are in Iraq. She needed to have an important city with enough malcontents to aid her cause and let her set up her headquarters. After numerous contacts, negotiations and discussions, she chose Basra. Remember, Abu Bakr was a notable of Basra at this time, or by that time. Abu Bakr was one of the notables of the city and, like all of them, in a difficult position. Should he take up arms against Ali, the cousin of the Prophet, and the Caliph, challenged maybe but legitimate, or should he take up arms against Aisha, the lover of beloved of God and the wife of the Prophet on earth and in paradise? If one realizes, moreover, that he had become a notable in that Iraqi city, which was not his native city, one can better understand the extent of his unease. And what does she mean by that is this. The element of tribal ties and family was very important for the Arabs. If you don't know about that and you want a very quick information, go to my first videos, the videos in Greek language that are about the Greek people. And I have proto-Islamic history video and the Sunni Shia, split. Activate English subtitles and get informed about the history. And now we will go, so far we know that Aisha decided to go against Ali and she chose to get her support from Basra, where Abu Bakr was. Before besieging the city, she had sent messengers with letters to all the notables of the city, explaining to them the reasons that had impelled her to rebel against Ali, her intentions and the objectives that she wanted to attain, and finally inviting them to support her. It was a true campaign of information and persuasion, a preliminary military tactic in which the Prophet excelled, and Aisha was going to use the mosque as the meeting place for a public discussion to inform the population occupying the city, before occupying the city. Abu Bakr was thus contacted from the beginning in his capacity as a notable of the city. One thing that does not befall in today's discussion, but I want you to pay attention, is that Aisha used the mosque, and there is, in this book, we see the description of this, what happened in the mosque, and how the young people of Basra spoke in the mosque, and they were like, you know what, we don't want the war, stop fighting with each other, which is an argument against those who say that Islam is incompatible with democracy. My dear people, Islam is very compatible with democracy. The Prophet, and the first, years after the Prophet's death, practiced democracy. But anyway, this is for another video. So why was he led, Abu Bakr? So what happened is this. Aisha decides to go against Ali, was like, okay, I need a big city with a lot of food and a lot of people to support me in this campaign. She chooses Basra. She sends the letters to the notables, including Abu Bakr, saying, hey, I'm going for a war, come and fight with me. Now, Abu Bakr is someone who is a foreigner in this city, but he's a notable because he was a companion and a hadith transmitter. And he needs to choose, do I go with Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and, the mother of Muslims, or do I go with Ali, that is the legitimate caliph, is the boss? So why was he led to dig into his memory and make the prejudiced effort of recalling the words that the Prophet was supposed to have uttered 25 years before? The first detail to be noted, and it is far from being negligible, is that Abu Bakr recalled this hadith after the Battle of the Camel. So after Aisha went to Basra, Aisha accepted some help from the political authorities of Basra and some of the people of Basra. And then Ali and Aisha met in the Battle of the Camel as we know it, and Aisha lost the battle, and Ali was the unquestionable winner and the legitimate caliph. I will give you a small background. When Ali retook Basra, the idea is that Ali gave, forgave all the Muslims there that supported Aisha, but this is not true. He forgave people like Abu Bakr, who had no political authority, no political power. The political rulers, the rulers of the city, those that aided Aisha, or that they remained neutral, they didn't aid anyone, they didn't go in any sides, were like, you know what, I'm out of this war. There was an occasion where Ali stripped authority from one of these people and took away his money. But Abu Bakr, because he didn't have political authority, he was not touched. So Abu Bakr recalled these theoretically words that he who entrusts his affairs in the hands of a woman is doomed, after the war had happened. So for your information, Abu Bakr did not take sides. He did not aid Aida, but he did not objected her. He did not support anyone. He was like, I don't care. I'm staying in my house. I'm now rich. I'm a notable. I don't want any fights. But when the fights finished and Aisha lost the war and Ali went to Basra, then he was like, you know what? Let me tell you, Aisha had asked me to help her, but then I remembered that the Prophet 25 years ago, the Prophet that had died 25 years ago, said this and this. Theoretically, the Prophet said that, or people assume, because we don't have any, this hadith is so out of context. It's just one line, that's it. Only Abu Bakr heard it, nobody else has narrated it, whereas majority of other narrations, they have 2 or 3, 4, 5 people narrating the same thing. And people assume that the Prophet, because there's no logical explanation why the Prophet will wake up one day and will be like, he who entrusts. But what they assume is that there was a war between the Persians and the Byzantines. So at some point, a woman took over, a lady, a queen, took over the Persian army. And that's how people assume that those people that they accept this hadith as valid, and they accept that perhaps the Prophet said something like that. Assume that happened in this occasion, which was 30 years before the day that Abu Bakr remembered it. So at that time, Aisha's situation was scarcely enviable. She was politically wiped out. 13,000 of her supporters had fallen on the field of battle. They died. Ali had retaken the city of Basra, and all those who had not chosen to join Ali's clan had to justify their action. So Ali went to Basra and was like, why you didn't help me? This can explain why a man like Abu Bakr needed to recall opportune traditions, his record being far from satisfactory, as he had refused to take part in the civil war. Not only did he refrain from taking part, but like many of the companions who had opted for non-participation, he had made his position known officially. And then it's about the letters, and then the last part. Oh yeah, it's the part that what happened when Ali returned to Basra victorious. And then we have Mernissi goes into the Maliki school. Mernissi goes into the science of Hadith and what are the criteria for a Hadith to be accepted as sound. And she gives us many criteria. One, I mean, I will not go because the video becomes too long. Get the book. I mean, come on, and read it. These are pages 60 to 61, where she says, if one follows the principles of Malik for fiqh, Abu Bakr must be rejected as a source of hadith by every good, well-informed Malikite Muslim. And this is because of, his reliability. And the fact that, I mean, I will not go because it's 4 pages. I cannot read 4 pages, but she goes into analyzing how this misogynistic hadith should not be accepted. The Prophet never said something like that. Abu Bakr invented it to save himself and his, position and his money. But those, for some reason, infiltrated. And why infiltrated is this? And Mernissi mentions that as well, that Bukhari himself grew up in a community, in a society where women were not, seen very favorable. Or let's put it that way, having half of the population, the women, being locked in a house and having no power, no authority, no word, was very, very, very convenient for these first societies. It was. It was also against Islam. It is against Islam. It is against the Qur'an. But anyway, so this was the last part. I will not go down. There are many, many hadith that are questionable. Many hadith. And here we only discussed the opportunistic occasion that created or under which someone recalled a hadith, which questions the hadith. And in the previous video, we questioned the credibility of the person. How come the person who had publicly admitted that he lied and he corrupted hadith is considered today a sound hadith transmitter? There are other criteria and there are other hadith that have to do with snad, the chain of transmission, and have to do with the ethics that I will not touch today because, I'm not here to teach everything. But I hope that those of you that you watched bothered yourselves to watch all 3 parts. You now understand what hadith criticism is and what is not. So the next time that you will see someone criticizing a hadith, please think carefully before you start typing accusations and you takfir people and you call them not Muslims. And remember, claiming or abusing people online based on your own tacit knowledge, not something you studied, not something you researched, but something that your grandpa told you or your imam in your local mosque told you, does not prove the other side wrong. It only proves your ignorance. And ignorance in our days, with social media, with knowledge being free in internet, ignorance is a choice. And as I always say to my close people, We are absolutely free to make our own choices, but we are not free from the consequences of these choices. So if you choose ignorance, don't expect people to take you seriously. That's all for now. I have to leave you because my throat hurts after 3 videos, and I hope to see you in one of the next videos.